Okay.
We're good, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So it is now 6:31. I call the meeting to order. The attendance tonight, Wendy's going to take the roll because we have a couple votes there that are dependent on the 2/3 and 50%. So she'll need to take the roll, and at those votes, we'll have to do those individually as well. So
Kelly, you good for me to go?
I am.
Okay. Derek Pleadwell. If you can just answer present, that would be good.
Present.
David Duplessis,
Present.
Kevin Nicklin. Kevin Nicklin. Okay. Dave Morrison,
Here.
Richard Corey,
Here.
Tim Fox,
Present.
David Sweeney,
Present.
Bob Powell,
Here.
David Hayward,
Here.
John Bigger,
here,
Dale Mowry,
Here.
Judy Wilson She,
Present.
Greg Erickson,
Present.
and Marty Forsyth.
Present.
And did I miss any board members? Okay, Kelly. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Okay, approval of the agenda moved by
Judy.
Judy Wilson. She seconded by
Second.
Bob Powell. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Conflict of interest disclosure, if any. There being none, I'd ask for the adoption of the minutes of February 7th, 2023, please. Moved
I
by
so move, David.
David Duplessis, seconded by
Dale Maury.
Dale Maury. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Public presentations. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. CAO. John, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to our consultation team that's helping us develop our 5-year regional strategic plan under the local governance reform. It's mandated that we have one and that we adopt it by July 1st. And have it implemented over the next 5 years. So we're very fortunate tonight to have the team with us. But just before we introduce everyone on the team, I wanted to let you know with Pivot Consulting that we engaged their services on February the 8th. We had communicated their CVs to everyone, so it shouldn't be a real shock to meet them this evening. And that was on the February 13th. And on the 24th, we sent around the Capital Region Service Commission Regional Strategy Project Overview. To date, Pivot Consulting has met with one of our entities, and they're starting to book more and more meetings. So tonight I'd like to introduce you to Greg Lutz, who's the associate partner. Many of you would know Greg. Sorry. Many of you would know Greg. He worked with 7 of our entities that are now part of the Capital Region Service Commission entities during the transition from the previous system to our current under local governance reform. Lisa Doucette, who's with Mr. Lutz and his team here in the Capital Region, comes to us from, she has a long history of governance. And in that as well, she has a large amount of experience with social development and community development and certainly social files. And Juan Lara is also with us, who's an analyst with Pivot Consulting. And certainly Juan also has some experience in the area. He did a degree at St. Thomas University. And we're very thrilled to have them all today. Here with us today. And just so that you know, both Greg and Lisa bring senior level government experience. They both had worked during the transition period, and Greg is a transition facilitator. And we're very thrilled to have them. They've been very helpful to date. They've also been attending meetings with us with Ignite and Fredericton Tourism, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Greg and Lisa and Juan to say hello. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Greg, maybe you want to start and just say hello to everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, John. Look, it's a real treat to be with folks here tonight. As John mentioned, we have the 3 members of the project team working with you on developing the regional strategy. Lisa Doucette, as John mentioned, former Assistant Deputy Minister with Department of Social Development and also with Department of Human Resources. She's our senior consultant. We have Juan Lara, who is from the mighty St. Thomas University with a degree in economics and an MBA as well, supporting us. And myself, Greg Lutz, for those whom I haven't met. I also worked, like Lisa, worked in provincial government here in Fredericton for many years, mainly doing policy analysis, but also worked at Regional Development Corporation, Service New Brunswick, Department of Tourism. So I have hopefully some relevant experience and connections to be helpful in this process. And as John mentioned, last year, both Lisa and I worked with 12 out of the 14 communities around this table in one fashion or another on local government reform. So lots of familiar faces, and the folks that we haven't met yet, we're looking forward to getting to know you. And this is all about developing the regional strategy. As John mentioned, you would have received the project overview the week before last, just that little 1.5-page document giving you the key facts. But the important message we wanted to share with folks tonight, that we see this very much as your regional strategy. This board is our main audience as we work together to develop this. And we're very excited to have your contributions as we kind of work through the process. Just to give you a quick indication, though, of how we're going to do that, we've started. We had our first meeting yesterday. We want to meet with mayors and their teams as quickly as possible. So we met yesterday in Fredericton Junction. We have a few more meetings set up for this week. And before the end of the month, we hope to get together with everybody here on the board to get your preliminary thoughts and ideas about what needs to be in the regional strategy. Then in April, based on the feedback, we'll probably organize some sessions on specific topics, depending on what we hear are your priorities. Then in May, there'll be a workshop with the board to kind of talk about that, the typical stuff that you would see in a strategy, your vision, your goals, your accountability measures, the stuff that you want to have in the strategy. And then we bring it all back to you in June as a draft that you have time to think about and edit before it gets approved by the board. So that's at a very high level, the process. And I think given the circumstances, it's going to be really important to think of this as a living document at this point. So early in the game of local government reform, there's still a lot of unknowns. And so that's the way we're thinking of it now. And the conversation we've had would validate that especially with the new mandates, we want to leave room for things to evolve and grow at a pace that this board can support. So thank you for that. We're looking forward to getting together with everybody here. I'm going to leave our contact information in the chat box as well. And just so you know, we're very much aware that busy mayors don't just work from 9 to 5. So if you have thoughts or concerns that you want to share with us during the day, in the evenings, on the weekends, we're always going to be available to discuss things with you, and we're here to serve you. So pleasure to see you folks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Greg. And does anyone have any questions? Mr. Chair, maybe you would ask if there was any questions, but I do want to say that Lisa, Greg, and Juan have been exceptionally accessible. If you have any questions or if you have any concerns, reach out at any time. If you need their contact information, contact any one of us here at the office. We all have it, and we'll certainly make sure you're in touch with them right away.
Mm-hmm. Any questions, anyone? Dr. Powell, please.
How long are you guys going to be with us?
Everything has to be wrapped up by the end of June.
June 30th.
So is the province paying yet, or are we?
So on that, I'll answer
Yeah.
that, Greg. So on that, Director Powell, what we have there is we had a contribution from the Canada Community Building Fund of $50,000. We had we also had a grant from the Regional Development Corporation for 25, and then we would pay any of the anything over that from the commission. And it's certainly our cost in speaking with other CEOs across the province is very much in line with what others are expecting and what they're doing. We're actually getting great service, and so I would say that at the minimum, 75% was covered through the province and through the Canada Building Fund, the Canada Community Building Fund.
Great, thank you.
No trouble.
Any other questions? There being none. Greg and team for
Okay,
being here.
great.
John, do you want to close it off there?
Well, I just want to say thank you to Greg and Lisa and Juan. And I think when you have the opportunity to meet with them, such as our chair, had met with them yesterday in terms of that, I think you'll find that they're a good team to work with. They're going to ask you a lot of questions. They're going to try to get into the meat and potatoes of what you want to see in your regional strategy. And as we develop this together, as Greg said, it's going to be a living document, and it's going to be one that will constantly refresh and build upon. And we're hoping to, in my own personal heart of hearts, I'm hoping to have the first one out of the gate and the best one in the province. So anyway, thank you very much to the team at Pivot, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, committee reports, audit committee, Director Amari, please.
Okay, I'm just going to read it off here. The committee met on January 24th, 23. In attendance were myself as a chair, Dale Morey, Judy Wilson-Shee, vice chair, Robert Powell, Derek Peedwell, David Duplessis, John Smith, CEO, Don Fitzgerald, ED, Darren Lawrence, and Ross Craig, and Mary Kay Langton, the CFO. And the meeting was called to order by the chair at 12:01. Our auditors, Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Craig, reviewed with the committee the audit finding letter and summarizes the process used by the auditors in the completion of their duties. A copy of the letter is attached for your information. An in-camera session with the auditors was held and did not include staff. The committee is satisfied that the audit process will proceed in an appropriate manner, and will meet again in March to review the draft statements and presentation for the annual general meeting. There being no further business, the meeting adjourned at 12:22 p.m. And at the bottom, a motion here. I move that the board receive the report of the audit committee dated March 7th, 2023.
Heard the motion, is there a seconder, please?
Second.
Second it, David.
Dr. Judy Wilson-Shee, anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Dale. Okay, the next thing on the economic development update, John Smith, please.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to the directors. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Just want to kind of give you a brief overview. So with the MOU with Ignite, Sarah and her team Sarah Corey Holohan and her team have met with just about everybody. I believe there's only one, maybe one outstanding left to meet with in terms of communities. And They're starting to develop their process to put a strategic plan together so that they can bring it back to you as the directors of the board to approve and to have a look and to make sure it meets with your needs. In terms of that, I've been meeting with them on a regular basis, bi-weekly, and get constant updates and feedback. And I was very pleased. Just recently, we received an invitation from an organizing committee in Central York for an event on May the 6th in the morning out in Keswick Ridge. And when we received it, Kelly had forwarded it to me, and immediately I sent it out to Ignite and Fredericton Tourism. And when I sent it to Ignite, they had already indicated that they were working with the organizing committee and that they would be fully participating in the event. And this is to bring businesses together, this is to bring community together. This is to introduce everybody in the community. So I'm hoping everybody will see that same service, that same level of service, and know that they have their finger on the pulse, so to speak, in terms of how this is coming together and developing. I know they're working hard. As I said before, they have a whole new, they're going to have a whole new board come April. And for those who are nominated on the board to sit on the board, you'll be contacted probably by the middle of March to discuss how that will roll out. And we're just very pleased so far with the development of the progress that they've been making. It's been transparent. They've been helpful with us, and they've been working with us to develop further documents so that we can help support you in the development of their plan, and they can give you the plan that you want. So, Mr. Chair, and thank you. I don't know if there's anything further in terms of that. I mean, this is if anyone has any questions or concerns.
Director Wilson, please.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, when is Unite going to be using their legal title, My Unite?
I believe they've started that transition process now, Director Wilson Shee, and they are advertising as such, and they've been transitioning their website and all of their documentation. Very much similar to us as the Capital Region Service Commission, and with our website and our documentation. It does take a little bit, but they are using My Ignite, and it is so far it's been fairly well received from what I can tell. Certainly getting lots of traffic on their website.
Thank you. So, and moving forward, when we mention Unite in any of our paperwork or correspondence, we'll be saying My Unite?
I would suspect if you're using it as their true name or their full business name, it'd be My Ignite. But most people are still, I have to be honest, in most of the meetings I attend, they still call it Ignite. Everybody just refers to it as Ignite, and most understand what it is. But if you're sending it out, yes, I would suggest to use the My Ignite logo for it.
Okay, because there's just a few examples, and one is in that report, last bullet down, once the plan is accepted, Ignite will be hiring staff. So we didn't refer to it as My Unite.
Okay, we'll certainly correct that for the next time around, Mayor Wilson Shee, and we'll do that moving forward. And I'll clarify that with them, how they want to be referred to as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the recommendation of the committee is that the board pass a resolution to receive the report, which results in.
Ask a question before we get to there.
Yes.
I guess there's a comment I want to make first, and then maybe a question. I want to raise for the record, our community, we still have some pretty serious concerns with how we're going to support our own economic development corporation and participate with Ignite at the same time. And I want to basically get that on the record, and I'm hoping that through the process of the development of a strategic plan that we can incorporate some of that in, because being a community that has put the amount of work and time and investment in a successful economic development corporation in advance of all this reform, we'd like to keep we'd like to keep that going, and I just want to lodge that, and like I said, hopefully there will be some way to incorporate that into the strategic plan. And if that's the case, can anybody answer that question at this point?
John?
So Mayor Fox, thank you for the question there, Director Fox, sorry. Thank you for the question through you, Mr. Chair. I would say this is that we're going to be working together as much as possible. Mayor Fox, I'm available to meet with you pretty much at any time. Certainly make myself available to come out and we can sit down and chat, and we can certainly bring this up. I'll raise this with Ignite. I do have a meeting with them this week. And so I will certainly raise that with them and express that concern. We have to follow through the process that we were mandated to follow through with. So we'll see how we can find those opportunities for partnership and synergies to be developed, and try to support one another within that process. But I think it'll involve a little deeper conversation than maybe what we want to have here this evening. But I'm willing to sit down with you at any time, and we can have that chat moving forward.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so the recommendation is to pass the resolution, receive the report, which results in being part of the record of the meeting. So the motion is, I move that the board receive the economic development update staff report dated March 7th, 2023. Would somebody move that, please?
So move that.
Moved by Derek Pleadwell, second by Marty Forsyth. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Or carried. Okay, the tourism update, John Smith, please.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the directors. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity again. Fredericton Tourism, much like Ignite, I often meet with them at the same time because there's a lot of synergies between economic development and tourism. I want to say that the Fredericton Tourism, or the Fredericton Capital Tourism team and the Fredericton, they've been very accessible. They've been out meeting with the communities. I think they're down to 3 communities left, and they're hoping to tidy those up this week and early next week. And then they start to develop their plan as well as per the MOU. They'll bring it back and present that plan to you, the members, for acceptance. And then we'll start moving forward on actioning that plan. And like anything, they've been busy. They recently hired their regional tourism coordinator, who is Rose Arsenault. There was a communique sent out around that. And one thing I think many people would probably know Rose. She's been a media personality, certainly been involved in tourism and the promotion of the greater Fredericton region for years. And if nothing else, she's a fabulous tennis player. So anyway, Rose brings a lot to the table. She's a great person. I think you'll really enjoy working with her. And on that Central York, again, the invitation when we sent it out, I heard back within minutes from Fredericton Capital Region Tourism, and they certainly responded quickly. And within about 5, I don't even think it was 7 minutes afterwards, Rose had already responded and said, I'll be there. It sounds like a great event. How do we get involved? So we're going to be reaching out to them and having a chat with them. And so we're going to have our economic development promoters and our regional tourism promoters out there as well. And I think they'll do a fabulous job for the region. So, and Mr. Chair, we've, like I said, they've been meeting regularly, and they've been very accessible. So if there's ever any questions, any issues, please either contact myself or any of the team here this evening, and we'll certainly make sure that the message gets to them and that we facilitate a call, a meeting, whatever it may take as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, it's recommended the board pass a resolution to receive the report, which results in being part of the record of the meeting. The motion is there. Can I have a mover, please?
I so move, David.
Moved by David Duplessis, seconded by
Judy.
Seconded by Judy Wilson. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Ending poverty Summit. Suzanne White, please.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for this opportunity to do a bit of a sales pitch. We appreciate certainly that the Community Development Social Inclusion File is quite significant, encompasses a lot of aspects related to creating health and wealth in the communities. And I wanted to offer some background to an invitation that you're going to receive next week to attend a poverty summit hosted by the Tamarack Institute. So I'll give you some background about Tamarack. They're a learning center based in Waterloo, Ontario, and their focus is on understanding how community change can happen. Now, their aim is to help organizations and citizens work together for a collective impact in communities to address social issues, and most specifically to apply what they learn to end poverty in Canada. Now, they do this through webinars and blogs and learning networks, and that network in and of itself has grown to 35,000 change makers in Canada, the US, and around the world. And since 2001, they've engaged 350 municipalities representing 83 different regions in the country. So they understand what the issues are relative to addressing social issues from a municipal lens. And their work is based on the assumption that communities have a central role in responding to the challenges of climate change and racism, polarization, pandemics, and income inequality. And the Fredericton Community Inclusion Network's been a member of the Tamarack Institute for going on 8 years now. As well, our partners in St. John, in Moncton, and in Charlotte County were also members of the Tamarack Institute. So Tamarack's presently supporting some collaborative efforts that we've undertaken to advance the advocacy on basic income through networks existing in Atlantic Canada, with a focus on affecting change at the federal level, building up our social safety net, leveling out income inequality such that folks can meet their basic needs of putting food on the table, a roof over their heads, affording transportation, and so forth. Now, most recently in the province, again, with the support of that Tamarack Institute, we gained the support from municipalities in Moncton, Fredericton, St. John, and Bathurst to endorse letters that are being sent to the Premier and to the Prime Minister, asking from our mayors, asking that the federal government investigate basic income as a fiscal policy for addressing poverty reduction. And we can certainly look to Deputy Mayor Greg Erickson as being a huge proponent, advocate, and supporter that helped us move this through Fredericton Council. But most specifically, Tamarack has also been hosting annual poverty reduction summits. And this year it's going to be a hybrid version. So they're going to offer both in-person experience as well as virtual. And they've also opened up an opportunity for member organizations to host viewing parties. So what it is, it's a great opportunity to pull together folks who are seized with the issues of wanting to address poverty concerns in the community, bring us all together in one room, we'll view the presentations being made at the conference, and then in between with breaks and afterwards, we'll have that opportunity to just network amongst ourselves, see what resonates, and see what gems of ideas we may want to explore further. So the event's happening, let me check my notes, April 25th to the 27th. It's just partial days. I think the first day it's only for 3 hours. Next day is 6 hours, and the third day is 3 hours. And we're going to be hosting it at the Ville, which is on Canada Street in Fredericton. And Tamarack Institute is actually giving us funds to help cover rental costs, refreshments, and some transportation expenses. So next, as I mentioned, next week, you'll see the invitation. There'll be a link to the website so that you can go in and see what is going to be discussed. And if you're interested, please contact me directly to register, direct people in your staff, people in your community who you think would best be benefit from being informed in that level of discussion. And we'll take it from there. I'll open up if there's any questions.
Are there any questions from anyone? There being no questions, could I have a motion to approve the Ending Poverty Summit staff report, please?
I'll move that, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Greg Erickson, seconded by
David.
Derek Pleadwell. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Okay, staff reports. Appointment of head RTIPA. Dawn, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The directors may be aware that the commission is subject to the Right to Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And part of that obligation on us is to respond to requests for specific types of information. And we have a process that we go through here. And we are required under the Act to appoint what is called a head, an individual who has overall responsibility for the administration of the Act in our organization. For the last 10 years, I've been the head. Typically, the head is the senior person in the organization. And it's appropriate at this time, I think, that the board appoint our CEO, who has a long experience and is familiar with what is a highly technical act. And since we are now under his leadership, we're happy to bring forward that recommendation that he be appointed as the head of the public body.
Well, you heard the report of Dawn about the RTIPA head. Would someone read the motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Tim Fox, sorry. Seconded by David Morrison.
Yep.
Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm assuming John accepts the nomination.
I don't think we're giving John the option.
So all good.
Motion's carried.
Always
Thank
good to
you.
get you voluntarily.
Okay. The 2022 post-closure review. Don Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Every quarter, we review the performance of the post-closure fund that we maintain to cover the wind-up expenses of the landfill when it reaches capacity and no longer is accepting garbage. At the end of this meeting, we typically review the performance for the previous calendar year. And during the year, our fund stayed within its parameters in terms of diversification and fixed income, cash, equities. And I'd like to report that it had terrific growth performance, but that's not the case. As directors will know, it was a very challenging year in 2022 for markets, and generally they were down worldwide about 10%. Different markets would vary from that a little bit, but that's essentially the average, and that's what our fund experienced. The good news, I guess, is that with our investment horizon, we're going to face bull markets and bear markets, and if we continue to be reasonably diversified, we'll do well in the long run. Our investment horizon is now out in excess of 20 years from now. So it's staff's recommendation that there's no adjustment necessary to our investment policy at this point in time, and that we we close the books on 2022 and look forward to improved 2023. And Mr. Chair, if there are any questions, specific questions on the report, I'd be happy to respond to them.
Are there any questions for Don? Greg, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Don, for this. I don't have any questions about the report per se. I am curious, though, what the schedule is or calendar is for the investment advisors when we go back out to RFP or when we do a performance evaluation of them moving forward, because I trust they won't be with us until the closure fund turns over.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, Director Erickson?
Sure. When do we do, how long is the contract we have with the money managers for the post-closure fund?
Okay, so we don't have a specific term. We can initiate a review of their performance at any time. And that's an issue that comes up annually through the Finance Committee. And if they direct us to do that, we will. And but at this point, with the exception of 2022, our typical performance of this investment team outperforms the market. So, but at the pleasure of the board, we can review it at any time. We're not locked in.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Don? Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Moving forward, the 5-year post-closure fund analysis, Mary Kay Langton.
Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to take a second and share my screen with you so I can walk you through the GemTech report. I apologize, I did have it in the right position, but it didn't come forward for me. Here we go. All right, so I'll be presenting the updated post-closure report that we received from GemTech, which is the engineering firm that we use at the landfill. So just for background, the commission is required under the Regional Service Delivery Act regulation to maintain a special account that can only be used for closure or post-closure expenses when the landfill reaches the end of its useful life. This is the investment that Don just discussed with you previously. We contribute to this investment on a monthly basis based on the actual tonnage that is received at the landfill. And this report is what determines how much that contribution is, how much we have to report as a liability as well on our balance sheet. So that liability is the amount that is our obligation to pay for these expenses when the landfill closes. So our last review was completed in 2018. And so another review would be required at the end of 2023. However, with our EIA approval, extending the life of the landfill, a complete review was in order. So we completed this for 2022. So I'm going to review the GemTech report with you, and then we'll look at the calculation and how it all flows together. I'm just going to try to get something that I can highlight. I don't see it. Here we go, my trusty spotlight. So the first thing that I want to highlight for you is the annual inflation rate. So all of the numbers that are included in this calculation are adjusted for an inflation rate of 2.16% per year. And that's based on Statistics Canada's information from 1990 to 2022. We've also used a long-term borrowing cost of the province of New Brunswick of 4.84%. And really what this number represents is that is the rate of return that we need to generate from our investments in order to meet our funding model. The post-closure costs consist of the following, and these are estimated in today's dollars. So when the landfill closes, it's estimated that we'll need costs for monitoring, inspection, maintenance cover, leachate and gas management, administration, as well as a contingency, totaling $658,000. And that is up from the previous report. It was just under $567,000 in the previous report. which is not unexpected that it would increase. As of the end of 2021, the investments that we had a fair market value of $5,182,000. And based on the successful EIA, we have space available of $4,360,000, which will take us through to 2057. So all of these numbers are then put together into our model. And the model shows what we need to record as a liability, as well as what we need to put aside on a monthly basis into our investments. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. Apologize. There we go. So this is the model that GemTech determines. And I'm going to walk you through each of the columns and just explain what that means. So the first column shows that $658,000 cost that's going to be per year for the post-closure expenses. That inflationary measure of 2.16% is then applied to each of the subsequent years. So that $658,000 in 2022 or 2021's dollars, in 2056, that actually turns into $1,390,000. We have investments at the end of 2021 of $5,182,000. Assuming that we receive our required rate of return of 4.84%, you can see what the investment grows in each year. So at the end of 2056, that initial investment that we have now of $5,182,000 actually turns into $27 million. In 2057, when we have no more capacity and the landfill is closed, we are going to need $1,420,000 of those costs for post-closure. So this $658,000 in 2057 is this $1,420,000. And you can see that it extends for a period of 30 years. This 1.4 million is then discounted back for a year and becomes 1.3 million. All of these added together give us a total amount that we're going to need when the landfill closes of $28,623,000, which is a lot of money, but we're fortunate in that we have about 30 some years for our investments to grow into this 27 million, leaving an amount that we need to contribute over the next 34 years of $1,524,000. And you're going to see this figure quite a few times as we go forward. So what that means is in each of the next 30 some years, we need to contribute approximately $43,000 in today's dollars to get us to that $1,524,000. So discounting the $43,000 back to today's dollars, this is what we need to contribute now so that we can invest it for the next 35 years and grow it into the $43,000. So this is what we would contribute this year. This would be next year, plus we would have some investment income on your initial contribution, giving us a total combined revenue of this plus this, and cash would be what we initially contributed, the new contribution plus the investment income, and it grows into that 1.5 million that we need at the end of 2056. And then this is what the estimated capacity that we've used already. Sorry, this is the amount that we've used. This is what we estimate will be used to get us to our total space that's available of $4,360,000. So the tipping fee, or what we need to contribute in 2023 to earn this $43,000 come 2057, is determined based on the present value of the cash requirement divided by the actual tonnage and for 2023, that works out to 11 cents per ton. Now, in comparison, our previous report, that amount was $3.26. So we have a significant decrease in the amount that we have to contribute for the ton tipping fee. And that's really because of the time horizon. So because of that additional time, we gave our investments the ability to grow further, meaning the amount we have to contribute today is much, much less. So on an annual basis, that's approximately a $250,000 savings from our previous report. So that's great news. And that's all because of the successful EIA. So again, it's saving us money. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. So I know that's a very complicated calculation, but when you break it down, it really does make sense. We have a much longer horizon to invest, and therefore it's going to cost us much less money that we have to put away today. And the only other thing that I do want to mention is this calculation is going to be changing in 2023. And the reason is, it used to fall under section 3270 of the Public Sector Accounting Handbook, but that's been withdrawn. So now it's falling under section 3280, which is asset retirement obligations. And that's a different calculation. And we were hoping to be in the position at the end of the year to early adopt this. We discussed it with our auditors, figured we might be able to save doing two calculations, but it was determined we just don't have the information that we need. So we're going to wait until the province comes out with some more data so that we can make sure that we get this calculation right in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Are there any questions for Mary Kay? Greg, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mary Kay. One quick question about the tonnage per year. Shouldn't that scale with population growth?
Yeah, that's a good point, Greg. It's always just an estimate because we actually contribute based on actuals anyway. But that's something that we could definitely look at in the future because it probably would grow slightly. We've been quite consistent for the past 10 years. And then since COVID, it's kind of in that $80,000 ton range. So it kind of made sense to use that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mary Kay? Okay, you heard the report. Can I have a motion to receive the report?
So moved.
Moved by Marty Forsyth, seconded by
Bob Powell.
Second by Bob Powell. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mary Kay. Price change, Brett.
I believe, Mr. Chair, we've got application for financing as well. Coming up first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed that. Sorry. Okay, so we'll move back to Mary Kay on application for finance.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. So in the borrowing process, there's really two steps. The first is our application to borrow, which gives us permission to actually go out and purchase the equipment. And we need to do that after the budget is approved. So that step's already been done with regard to what we're seeking to finance at this point. The second step is after the purchase has already been made and the costs are known, we have to pass a motion for financing. And financing really means that we're going to obtain the debenture and get the cash for which we are looking for the piece of equipment that we've borrowed for. So this is what this report is doing here. And the piece of equipment in 2022 that we were borrowing for, which we've already had approval to borrow, is our engine block swap on engine number 1. And that engine block swap was actually completed back in in January 2023. So we know what costs we need to borrow. We have approval to borrow up to $900,000. We're fortunate in that the cost came in much less than that. The actual costs of the engine block swap were $652,000. So that's what we're seeking to do here. And the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board requires that we pass the following motion. And it's important to note that this is approval for borrowing. So it requires 2/3 majority of directors present, representing a minimum of 50% of the population represented at the meeting.
Thank you. So can I have a mover, please? And please read the motion for this one.
Judy,
Moved by Judy. Would you read it, please?
sure. Can I just ask one question? John, am I supposed to add that word in there before capital?
Yes, you can make that addition as you're reading the motion, Mayor Wilson Shee.
Thank
It's just
you.
an addition of a word, so thank you.
Be it resolved that the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer be authorized to issue and sell to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation a Capital Region Service Commission debenture in the principal amount of $652,000 on such terms and conditions as are recommended by the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation, and be it resolved that the Capital Region Service Commission agree to issue post-dated checks payable to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation as and when they are requested in payment of principal and interest charges on the above debenture.
You heard the motion. Do we have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Dave Morrison.
By Greg Erickson. Okay, so we'll have to do vote by individually, I guess is the easiest way to say it. So Wendy, if you want to call a roll there.
I can
Or-
do that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm.
Okay, Derek Cleveland,
Yay.
David Duplessis,
Yes.
Dave Morrison,
Yes.
Richard Corey,
Yes.
Tim Fox,
Yes.
David Sweeney,
Yes.
Bob Powell,
Yes.
David Hayward,
Yes.
John Bigger,
Yes,
Dale Mowry,
Yes,
Judy Wilson Chief,
Yes,
and Marty Forsyth.
Yes.
I move adoption of the,
I'll vote yes too. I wasn't called.
Oh, sorry, Grace.
so motion is carried. Since there was no votes against. Easy to calculate. Okay, now Brett, CFC removal fees.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As way of background, when an item containing chlorofluorocarbons of CFCs arrives at the landfill, there's a fee associated with its proper disposal. And when I say proper disposal, it involves the removal and proper treatment of that gas. As you know, that's CFCs are a pretty potent greenhouse gas, and there are provincial requirements to handle those properly. Recently, we've gone out for tender. We had a contractor that serviced us for many years, and became necessary to find a new business that would come in and remove those gases for us. When we received quotes, the lowest quote was up from what had been $15 per unit. It's gone up now to $32 per unit. And as such, staff are recommending that the price that we charge the public, we pass that cost on, be increased to cover the updated cost. So in order to accomplish that, I have included a motion in this report that would allow us to raise our fee for CFC disposal per unit to $32 effective immediately.
Okay, you heard the report and the recommendation of staff. Would somebody move the resolution, please?
I'll move it.
Moved by Derek Pleadwell, seconded by
David.
David Duplessis. All those, sorry, anything on the question? Judy?
Brett, will this deter people from taking those pieces of equipment to the landfill? doubling,
That's-
more than doubling the price?
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent question. I would say it's possible. It certainly won't encourage them. However, to put it in perspective, I think that $15 per ton or per unit number had been in place for decades. You know, I've been with the organization for over 20 years, and that number hasn't changed since I graduated from university and I had a full head of hair. So that puts it in perspective. So I think it's an easy one to absorb, and it doesn't represent a large portion of our business. But that would be my best answer.
Okay, and you say that it's effective immediately in the motion. So you're going to be able to get the word out to people that will be dropping these appliances off at the landfill? Like they won't just be showing up and then say, oh, it's gone from 15 to 32?
Absolutely. No, Brad James does a great job on communicating to the public, and we'll give word to him right away. He'll be able to post it on social media venues and our website. And if any additional notifications are required, he'll take action.
Thank you, Brett.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, we'll vote on it now. Kelly, do you want to call the?
Sure. Bob Powell,
Yes.
Marty Forsyth,
Yes.
John Baker,
Yes.
Greg Erickson, sorry,
Yes.
Dale Mowry,
Yes.
Judy Wilson-Shi,
Yes.
Tim Fox,
Yes.
David Sweeney,
Yes.
Dave Morrison,
Yes.
David Duplessis,
Yes.
Richard Corey,
Yes.
David Hayward,
Yes.
and Derek Cleveland.
Yes.
Given that everybody voted yes, motion is approved. Okay, thank you, Brett. Tenders, excavator and loader. Brett, again, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Solid Waste Division issued two tender packages. One for the acquisition of a 38-ton excavator, the other for the acquisition of a loader. Those packages were issued on January 3rd of 2023. And the tender call specified that we award the tenders no later than March 25th, 2023. These items were both approved during the 2023 budget process, and then again in December, the board directed staff to make an application to the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board for $760,000 to fund the purchases. I often skip the section, but I'll go through it in detail because I know there are a few new faces around the table. But it's important to note that when we purchase equipment, it's our practice to evaluate the tender responses across a range of variables, not just cost. The goal is to reveal not only the best value for our money, but also the lowest cost of ownership over its useful life. So submissions in this case were graded and points awarded in each of 4 key categories, those being price, warranty, technical competency, and delivery date. The excavator is a replacement for an existing piece of machinery, and that existing piece will be traded in at the time of delivery, and the new machine will be used for self-construction, screening, stockpiling, and clay. The trade-in allowances for the old machine, the 2014 380 Volvo excavator, ranged between $75,000 and $96,983.64. And those trade-in values have been used to reduce the prices that you'll see in the table below in the staff report. A total of 5 submissions were received for this tender, and the evaluation matrix is included within the staff report. The highest rated bid of that we received is from SMS Equipment. Staff are recommending that the tender be awarded to that company. 2 of the bidders were disqualified for undersized equipment and off-spec model years. I think it's also important to note that the amounts quoted in the evaluation table are before HST. The landfill does not pay HST at the standard 15% rate. Rather, we pay at a rate of approximately 4.285%, meaning the net cost to us of the SMS equipment offer is $432,678.47. And the budgeted amount for that piece was $485,000 even. So it came in significantly under budget. Now, the loader is a replacement for an existing piece of machinery that will be traded in at the time of delivery, similar to the excavator. In this case, the new piece of machinery will be used for manipulating garbage in our baling facility and site maintenance activities. Now, the trade-in allowances for the old machine, the 2015 200 Doosan loader, ranged between $30,000 and $60,000 and have been used to reduce the prices as we did in the previous piece of equipment. In this case, 4 submissions were received for the tender, and the evaluation matrix is included within the staff report. Now, in this case, you'll note that the highest rated and only qualifying bid is again from SMS Equipment. Staff are recommending that the tender be awarded to that company. Now, the 3 remaining bidders were disqualified for undersized equipment. So again, obviously the undersized equipment came in quite low in price, but it isn't large enough to accomplish the task. So that was disappointing. However, we did get one good bid. The other point that I would make is that the successful offer, potentially successful offer, the recommended offer is for $322,676.38. The budgeted amount in this case was $275,000. So for this machine, it came in higher than what we expected. However, the combined budgeted amount for these 2 pieces of equipment was $760,000. The total cost of the recommended equipment is $753,354.85. And that includes the non-refundable portion of the HST. So the overall net cost to the Capital Region Service Commission is $6,645.15, less than the budgeted amount, or within 0.9% of estimates. So in this case, Mr. Chair, staff recommends that the board pass the motions that have been included in the staff report to facilitate the purchase of the referenced equipment. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions?
Have one here, Mr. Chair. Why would those bids be undersized when they come in? You think, wouldn't they not be mentioned in the tender if a certain size they needed? Yet I find it odd they'd come in with undersized equipment.
Yeah, it was, I found it odd as well. It was disappointing, Director Morrison. Not only did we include the specifications were required in the tender document, we also called the vendors and specified that they absolutely had to meet those requirements. My suspicion is they bidded machines that were already on their in their inventory. In most cases, not only were they undersized, but they were also the wrong model year. So I think there was an effort to, sort of a Hail Mary to clear inventory that they had in stock. That's my speculation.
All right, thank you. Question well answered. I agree with you. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They'd underspec the equipment, but go figure.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, motion number 1. Do I have a mover? And if you'd read the motion, please.
I'll read it.
Maybe I should make it simpler and we don't read them. I don't know.
Do you want me to read it, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
The first one, okay. The tender 01-23 excavator 01032023 be awarded to SMS Equipment for one new 2023 Kamosu PC 390LC-11 as described in the tender for $414,900 plus tax.
You heard the motion. Is there a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Seconded by Morrison. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Motion number 2, and that's to purchase a loader.
I can move it.
Moved by Derek Pleadwell. Would you read it, please, Derek?
The tender 03-23- loader 0103320023 be awarded to SMS Equipment for one new 2023 Komatsu WA 270-8 as described in tender for $307,500 plus tax.
We heard the motion, and do I have a seconder?
Second, Dave Morrison.
Seconded by Dave Morrison. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. And, excuse me, motion 3.
I'll move.
Mr.
motion.
Chair, Mr. Chair, if I might, on this point, because this deals with borrowing, we'll need to call a roll. Because we'll need the 2/3 and 50%.
Yeah, for sure. So mover, please.
Greg?
Greg, could you move it?
Yep. I move that the Chief Executive Officer and/or Chief Financial Officer be authorized to issue and sell to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation a Capital Regional Service Commission debenture in the principal amount of $760,000 on such terms and conditions as are recommended by the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation, and be it resolved that the Capital Regional Service Commission agree to issue post-dated checks payable to the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation as and when they are required. I so move, Mr. Chair.
There's a seconder, please.
Second, I move it.
Second by
Dale.
Maureen. Anything on the question? Why don't you take the vote, please?
All right, Richard Corey,
Yes.
Judy Wilson Chi,
Yes.
David Hayward,
Yes.
Dale Mowry.
Yes.
Greg Erickson,
Yes.
David Sweeney,
Yes.
Dave Morrison,
Yes.
Tim Fox,
Yes.
Eric Pleadwell,
Yes.
Bob Powell,
Yes.
David DeQuissy,
Yes.
Marty Forsythe,
Yes.
and John Bigger.
Yes. Being that everybody voted in favor, motion is approved. Thank you. Bed feeder chain tender recommendation. Brett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is another tender. Solid Waste Division in this case issued a tender for the acquisition of a feeder chain that is a component of our garbage baler conveyor system. It's located in our garbage baling facility. We issued the tender on January 3rd. Tender call specifies that we award this tender no later than March 25th, 2023. You'll recall that the province of New Brunswick approved the 2023 budget, and that budget included the purchase of supplies to perform required maintenance on the garbage baler. The cost associated with this project will be split into two roughly equally valued tenders. One for the materials required. That's the tender that we're talking about tonight in the staff report, and another for the work to be performed, which is yet to be issued. The total amount budgeted for the two tenders was $500,000. So in this case, you'll recall in the last staff report, we have an evaluation matrix that we apply when purchasing equipment. However, when we're evaluating the purchase of construction materials or repair materials, price and the ability to meet specifications identified in the tender are the only two variables considered during the evaluation process. In this case, the lowest bid was submitted by Canadian Bearings Limited at $255,000, excluding HST, as summarized in the table within the staff report. Canadian Bearings Limited has all of the necessary experience with supply of the above noted components, and we therefore recommend that they be awarded this contract. Again, please be aware that the amounts quoted are before HST. Again, we pay HST at a rate of 4.285% net. meaning that the net cost of the Canadian Bearings Limited offer is $265,926.75. By way of comparison, the engineer's estimate in this case was $250,000 for this portion of the project. So, Mr. Chair, staff recommends that the board pass the following motion, the motion that's included within the staff report to facilitate the purchase of the reference supplies. And thankfully, this motion isn't nearly as long as the other motions.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please?
Judy,
With Judy Wilson, she, seconded by.
Bob Powell.
By Bob Powell. Anything on the question? All those in favor?
Could you tell me where the Canadian Bearing Company is from? Canadian Bearing Limited? Right.
That's an excellent question, Director Duplessis. I can't. I can certainly get you that answer if you're interested, but I'm not certain where they're headquartered. I believe they're out of Halifax.
Okay. I'm always concerned with the local, is why I asked that.
Yeah, so you'll see that we had two bidders, Canadian Bearings and XL Plating. I know XL Plating has a local presence. We use them quite often, but I can certainly look into that for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Greg Erickson, please.
Isn't our tender process constrained by the Provincial Tendering Act and some of those other documents that prevent us from cherry picking based on geography?
If I might, Mr. Chair, that's correct. There are limited ranges within which we may prefer on geography. We are subject to the New Brunswick Public Purchasing Act, and simply stated, we can't prefer a local supplier to one that's not local. The definition of local is difficult, and also the province and its public bodies are party to a number of interjurisdictional agreements. So while we'd all like to, it's not so straightforward.
Could I follow up, Mr. Chair? We do have the opportunity periodically to do sole source procurements that allow you to skip that. I don't know when and how those come about, but if staff could let us know when those do happen so that we can feel good about the spending local that we can accommodate, that'd be appreciated.
Thank you. So you heard the motion and the questions. If there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. I'd just like to, before we adjourn, just thank staff for the comprehensive reports that we got for tonight's meeting. There's a lot of work there and a lot of information, and I think it helped, especially some of the newer people sitting around the table, to understand the processes and I guess the different types of work and things that go into it. So thank you for that. Having said that, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Bob Powell.
Judy,
Moved by Bob Powell, second by Judy Wilson, she. Anything on the question? Oh, there's no question. The meeting's adjourned. Sorry.
unless you want to stay longer.
I don't want to stay long.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good
Thanks.
night.
Good night, guys.
Excellent meeting, everyone.
David Haywood, are you still there?
I am.
You had sent me that email